The more pain you have, the more you tend to sit. And I like think backwards through my journey. You sit where you're comfortable, you sit where you feel safe, you sit where you're doing what you need to do. And for me, that was I'm sitting in bed with my daughter here. And so I'm always slightly turned.
Yeah.
And my legs are crossed the exact same way, like ankle over ankle against the same pillows because I want to be comfortable. And I realize after a while, I have more tension over here because I'm always turned. My hips were worse from sitting, especially on my cushy bed,
Yeah.
slightly reclined. But if you're sitting in bed doing nothing with your feet and then standing causes pain, so your feet react. I mean, I just never realized all the small ways I was making everything worse. And I couldn't really help it at the time. But I think about all that. And one of the significant things I heard you say at the beginning was if you can't do much, do small things like cross your other leg over top if you have to sit in that bed, or way, like sit on the other end of your couch and turn your body the other way to watch TV. Because the more you can work the opposite side of your body, you're slightly undoing all of that patterning. And so that was so significant for me. It may not be an instant trauma, but over time, it's like little micro training, micro collagen migration, and it affected everything.
And that's where those, we become so comfortable in life. I sit on a wooden chair because when I'm seated, are both of my sit bones putting equal pressure? Or am I leaning over to one side and I've got more pressure on one than the other? On soft surfaces, we don't have that same sensory feedback. And then because we are so adaptable, we naturally just fall into those internal spaces that the patterning has built on since we were born and even maybe before that. So, yes, and that's the thing. Like people think, well, I want to be comfortable, but the reason we use wood for our tools is because bone and wood are best friends. They're similar in density. And I totally know that we need to take steps to get to being able to lie on the harder tool as it's appropriate for you. But once you do, the communication between the bone, which is where we end up with those rooted grips that are impacting everything, we can actually make some really amazing transformations as we've seen in you, obviously.
Yeah. So, how about I've had some questions come in, and then Debbie should be monitoring
Okay.
questions. Let me try
Well,
to do
Debbie.
some questions. One of the questions I've had, and it goes across communities for any practice anyone wants to do, is do I do this with compression garments on or not? And I kind of know your take on compression garments, but for the sake of this, my take is always anything squishing you while you're doing something to loosen your fascia is counterintuitive, whether it's a tight bra or underwear that digs in or a
Yep.
compression garment. So,
I remember those jeans when I was a teenager and like you'd lie on your back to zip them up and then you couldn't breathe, but you wanted to be like literally like, in them so darn tight. I mean, that's a fashion nightmare,
yeah.
right? Shoes that don't give your feet the ability to be properly planted on the ground, like any shoe that has a pointed toe, that's a fashion nightmare or creating a bad foundation for your body. And yes, I am not a fan of compression anything with the exception of conscious compression when you're focused on your breath and you're focused on moving more deeply because compression creates heat. Like if it's isolated in an area, pressure over time creates heat. When you combine that with turning on your body's furnace, now you're heating from the outside and the inside, and you're getting a very beautiful way to melt through those adhesions in that space with intention, right? Everything is about intention and awareness. If we're doing things and we don't have awareness or an intention around it, that's a whole different ball game. So compression without contention or without intention is contentious. Sorry, so to throw that in. So yeah, I mean, and I totally understand why people wear them because especially if you're getting that fluid buildup. But Now you're just impacting flow between the cells on a whole other level if you don't have that room for optimal flow. And that's not to say change what you're doing immediately, because no matter what it is, let's say you're taking medications, we don't want to just stop anything. We want to be thoughtful because, as you do this work, if you choose to do it, you're going to start seeing changes and you're going to know intuitively when it's time to start changing how you do things because it suddenly won't feel right. I mean, orthotics are a great example. I worked in an orthotics clinic for 7 years, and really, an orthotic supports the dysfunction. So now, if you're doing this work, you're going to be changing your feet. So you don't want to keep your feet locked into an alignment that was built from dysfunction. You want to be able to allow your body to adapt by feeling the ground and moving consciously. But it's not an overnight thing. You don't just take your orthotics out and because then you'll create more pain than you need. So again, it's a bit of a weaning process, right? And that's the key, right? We want to be gentle. This is about persuasion versus force. We do not ever want to force the body. When I was in my 20s and I was 50 pounds overweight, I was working out so hard. I was dieting. I was exercising like a fiend. And I got more compressed, more ballooned, more toxic, more constipated, more pain. I mean, the list goes on, more depressed. And then that, as you mentioned in the beginning, that feeling of failure because I'm doing the
Yeah.
work, yet it's like the rules of weight loss aren't applying to me. What's happening, right? And then when I finally allowed my body to consider restoration as opposed to trying to beat myself up. And that's what happens too, because you are working hard and you're not getting the results. So in your mind, you're thinking, well, I need to work harder then. I'm not getting what I want in my life. I got to work harder. The opposite, I would say, is true, right? We need to slow down. We need to feel. We need to allow and be patient with ourselves. And when we can, it's like I think I've seen a meme where you show somebody walking up a ladder step by step by step, and eventually they reach the top. Where somebody else, there's like one rung, and then there's no rungs, and then there's the top, and they can't get there because there's no ability to leap that far. Nature abhors a gradient, but those little baby steps, as you mentioned, they add up. And then before you know it, hey, I just realized I'm walking up the stairs and I haven't limped, or I'm getting out of bed and I'm thinking I need to limp, but I don't have to. Like all these things, they add up. And then there's that moment of freedom that you didn't have before. And those are such beautiful moments that just give you the incentive to continue moving on with this.
100%. I don't wear compression. It is like the number one recommendation from every lipedema expert. I'm not the only one with lipedema that doesn't wear compression. I have lymphedema too, and I still don't wear compression. I have tried to wear compression. It doesn't work for me. I know people who have Ehlers-Danlos and their fingers hurt and they're killing themselves to put on compression garments.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you to go against your doctor's advice. We're not doctors. We're asking you to just think about yourself and what makes sense for you and understand that doctors are telling you what they've learned and they're telling you they may have your best interest at heart and they may be trying to help you, but at the same time, they don't know your body. And everything they're putting out there for lipedema, it's just their best guess. That's really what it is. And so if you are struggling with compression, because I've heard it millions of times, give yourself permission to question whether it's right for you or not. That's kind of all we're saying.
And
And know
your
there are,
cells are already compressed, right? Like they're already
yeah,
overly compressed. They don't have the space. So when you actually go and pack them in tighter, it's just,
yeah.
yeah,
So give yourself permission to question
yeah.
and try things. And I mean, it's your body. You have that right, that ownership over your own self to question.
And one other thing too, I mean, and again, not knocking men at all, but the majority still, I mean, things are changing, but the majority of the people in the medical community are still men. And the reason that more women have this issue, or it's only women, I mean, it's primarily women, right? It's
Yeah.
because we have a Q angle greater than men, so we can have babies. Because as soon as you have a wider hip angle. Like men are more linear, they're straighter up and down, which makes them faster runners. It like again, think of why we're here. Like we're here to be the mothers of the children, and the men are here to protect and to go hunt. And I mean, from that ancient place, right? Like that's what we're designed to do. So that linear alignment doesn't have as much space to fall into. Where because we have this greater Q angle, our whole body is differently designed. We have a different center of gravity. We will collapse further into those spaces because of that Q angle. So this is an issue for women. So women really need to be communicating about what are the solutions for women, because if you don't have it and know what it feels like, then it's very hard to come up with proper answers. And you're right, you're guessing because people don't know. So yeah, just want to share that.
Debbie, did you say you have a question?
Yes, Jennifer has raised a good question. How
Okay.
do you distinguish between fascial restriction and muscular restriction during assessment?
Great question. And at the end of the day, fascia innervates every single cell in the body. So I don't actually differentiate between that at all because it's not even ever just muscle adhesion. In the twists and the turns, you're going to get muscle, fat, nerve cell, blood vessel cell. All the cells in the body get compromised and pulled and twisted in. And it was really when I was, for 10 years before I developed block therapy, I was working on clients with my hands. And, working on the legs especially, we have all these muscles they have a specific alignment. When you see a perfect picture in an anatomy book, but when I'm working with my hands, it's like, wow, I don't feel the differentiation between the quadricep and the IT band. It's all gotten confused and twisted and meshed together. Same as when we look at the organs in the body. If we're looking at where every organ is to be positioned, yet this is our alignment, the organs aren't where they're supposed to be because they end up migrating under the stresses. I remember it was years ago, before I even understood any of this work, when I had one of my therapists mention that she had to get one of her ovaries removed. And I asked her which one before her surgery. She said, oh, well, apparently they don't even tell you until after because sometimes in the body they twist. And I'm like, that makes sense. Think of if you always have that one leg over the other leg, your whole pelvis is constantly getting pulled and rotated, and everything inside adapts over time with that. So there's no differentiation between muscle and fascia. It is fascia innervates every muscle cell as well as every other cell. I hope that helps.
Debbie, do you have anything else?
I always have something to say. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out my camera. Bah.
Hi.
3 points that have really resonated with me, backing up first. And it was a compliment. I wasn't meaning to go back in the past, but Kelly and I have spoken on numerous occasions on different topics over the years. And the last 6 months, like it's I'm the one late for the call, or Kelly used to deal with fatigue and pain, and I could just see. I've never met you in person, but I can see the changes, the energy levels in your face. She's always up for it. Whereas being someone that supports the lipedema community but doesn't have it herself, I'm used to being adaptable and changing because you have good days and bad days. And I can't remember the last time Kelly said, I'm just having a bad day. I can't. Like it's probably been a year, honestly. Whereas before, I'm always ready to adapt because we just don't know how the energy or the pain is today. So, point two, when I pretended to be like the fascia person, remember in February we did those videos with Kelly and she showed me with the towels, and I deal with chronic sciatic issues because I sit stupid. I'm going to be 5 minutes and it turns into 5 hours. Um, and we were doing a series on, remember we were doing the butt and the outer thigh. There was 4 sessions we did. And I, honest to God, it's like Deanna said, like sometimes you don't know that there was a problem until it's gone. You just get up and you deal with it every day. And it was probably a couple days later, I'm like, wait a minute, where's my sciatic? Where'd it go? And it was just, and everybody looks at me, I'm skinny now, but I got into this because I had a bad knee and I was old and surgery was my only option 20 years ago. And it just goes, it's been 20 years of me being on my shaking machine journey, but a lot of the things that I think if I had known what fascia was 20 years ago, I would have been so much better of a teacher. But all of the things that you guys are talking about today, the heels not bearing the weight, the center of gravity, these are all things on a vibration plate. So if you're standing on the floor or standing on a vibration plate, a vibration plate superficially increases your exposure to gravity. So all of these alignment issues and all of these things that when I'm like, get the weight on the heels and make sure you're breathing, all ties into this bigger chat of, when I say everybody stepping onto the plate is different, that's the same reason a protocol that Debbie makes doesn't necessarily work for every single person in this community, because we've got to adapt what we're doing to the body we're doing it to. So if you can tune into some of the lessons today, why do I keep shifting to my toes on my vibration plate? Why can't I get a deep breath? Why shouldn't I go 20 minutes with my compressions on? Or a lot of the same reasons. Your body is to me, a vibration plate's a diagnostic tool, so it points out those deficiencies very quickly. The shoes thing, you know, I don't say it as eloquently as Deanna did, but you weren't born with shoes. We used to poop in the forest and we used to squat by the campfire. We didn't have chairs. We had the hard ground. And these are all the same questions I get as new users. Should I wear shoes? Should I wear compressions? What should I do on it? And my answer is very much the same. Start as you are, start as you've been prescribed, whatever that looks like. But I will back you up. The shoes and the compressions for my new vibration plate users, you know how they just they don't feel right after a while. The shoes aren't fitting. Well, because I've had people, oh my gosh, I have an arch in my foot. I always thought I had no arch. Because you're using your plate barefoot and the muscles are doing what they're supposed to do, that's where the compressions won't fit. And the same with compressions. I hate it when you guys shell out all this money on things and in 6 to 8 weeks they're just not fitting in the same way, or they're getting loose, or the shape has changed is another one that I've noticed. And it all rolls back into the elements that have been revealed today. So I just had to back that up. But Jennifer has another question. So that
Hey,
is
Debbie, I just want to jump in quick and just say,
yeah.
I love my vibration plate too, and it is such a beautiful complement with this work. I get on my plate every day, and it's just one of my favorite things to do to get things moving. And you really do get that sense of where is your body positioned
Yeah.
when you're in that motion. So when you combine it with that releasing of adhesion, you really start to sense, where you are and where you're headed. So anyways, I just wanted to share that.